Oh, hello. This is Thomas Azar, and welcome back to my channel, In the Mind of a Pianist. Today, we are talking about tone production. We're going to talk about some solid ideas on how to improve the sounds you produce at the piano. Our instrument produces sounds which are very different in nature when compared with a singer or a violin, for example. In some ways, some people may claim our sound is inferior since we have very little control over the note after the attack has been made. While this is true, we work with a very intriguing set of parameters which create illusions of various kinds of sound. We can control our timing, which includes the speed of the musical pulse, how we manipulate that pulse, how early or late we play individual sounds within the framework of that pulse, and of course the length or duration of each note. We can also control the loudness, which has several implications too. For one example, often in chord playing, a pianist aims to play the top note louder than the rest, which is called voicing. This gives the chord sound a sheen. It's like painting a glossy shellac on a piece of wood. You might say a good piano tone has a quality of a little swell right after you make the sound. This needs to happen both in your mind, how you conceptualize the sound, as well as in your body, with a limber and supple follow-through movement. Most of the time, we don't want a harsh tone, which many piano teachers call a hitting tone. Pianists have heard this phrase a million times from their teachers: don't hit the piano. Or in the words of Andras Schiff, don't play the key so abruptly. Now, to be fair, there are some times, like in the Prokofiev sonatas, where you do want an abrupt sound for effect. Prokofiev treats the piano as a percussion instrument, which it actually is, while most of the composers treat it more either like an orchestra or a singer, generally speaking. In many of Prokofiev's sonatas, you actually are striving to have a harsh and abrupt tone because this was his intent. Remember the piece called Reverie from my last video? Let's take a look at this from the perspective of tone production. I asked my student Scott to think of little slow motion car crashes. This is the secret to a fabulous tone for each individual sound. Focus on two words, drop and lift. Create various circular shapes with your upper arm, your forearm, and your wrist. Notice how we do not create the tone with our fingers, but mostly with our arm. Be sure you are allowing access to your full body when you play. Sit tall and strong and think a lot about allowing a stream of energy to flow through your arm, and don't allow this energy to feel pinched anywhere along the way. This can mean allowing your arm to have a large round shape like a bear hug or a tree hugger. If you are playing correctly, you will see evidence of it in a free and active forearm. One of my very favorite tips for good tone production is the use of wrist up and forward. This can be used in a multitude of ways. One example is, if you want an emphasized and sustained sound, make a very good drop of arm weight into the keys, and very soon after, right after the beginning of the sound, allow your wrists to come forward and up. Come to stand on the finger as if you have just conquered this territory and you are planting your flag. This movement allows you to use greater force while retaining control, since you can absorb a great deal of shock this way. Here is a list of elements which directly affect how your listener will perceive your tone. Arm weight and gravity, pressure, momentum, steady or stable is good, slight accelerating or decelerating can also be very good, erratic or uncontrolled is bad. Timing, take a bit of time in strategic places and move forward in others. Proportionality, loud to soft and soft to loud. An overall relaxed feeling, not tense or nervous. One final point for this video: it is important to maintain a set hand shape in order to be successful with any of this advice. My teacher, Philip Kaywin, said to me over and over, set your hand. It should not be rigid, but firm and supple. Mr. Kaywin would come and poke my knuckles, in piano we call this the bridge, to make sure they don't buckle. But then he would poke my wrist, which is supposed to be a lot more loose and flexible. The wrist still should not buckle, but there should be much more give at the wrist compared to the bridge. If we are going to maintain a set hand shape, it will mean that we need to move our arms forward into the black keys sometimes and pull back into the white keys, depending on the pattern and shape of the black keys and the white keys in the figure you're playing. And also depending on which fingers you are using. A shorter finger means you have to move closer to the fallboard, and a longer finger means you need to pull away. You can write yourself a keyword or two in pencil in your music to help yourself remember these concepts over a long period of time. Diagnose which of these points you are doing well and which ones can use a little more work. This will allow you to utilize your practice time more efficiently. Let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts to share on the topic of tone production at the piano, and see you next time.
I'm not a mute, I'm just a string of shells. I'm no mute, just used to speak too soon. Keep your talk, it's you who burn and I hate. Keep your shrieks, I'm all ears to myself.